Thank you. And so grateful to be here. It's wonderful how quick this month goes, right, in between. So one of the things that's been coming up over the Christmas period a lot, and the New Year period, for a lot of people, it's a very challenging time. I think it can be a wonderful time, the holidays, but also a really difficult time. And I certainly encountered that with a few beings over the Christmas period. And I was asked a couple of times, what's the fastest way out of suffering when we find ourselves really struggling and really feeling quite low, or some things playing in our mind, like what's the fastest way out of trouble? Not only the fastest way out, is there something simple I can do or remember or say or something like that, in a spiritual emergency, those crises where pretty much everything you think you've ever learned just goes out the window because some big thing is playing in your mind or in your emotions, or something's just happened in your life, and there's quite intense suffering there. So for me, that was always some kind of self-inquiry question, and I thought it might be helpful today to do some self-inquiry here on this session, perhaps to become more familiar with it. Sina was just talking about the great sage Ramana, and his first and foremost teaching was silence, but then if we couldn't remain in silence, he would propose self-inquiry as the second way. So I thought that it might be useful to do that, and I may have a little different spin on it than you've done before. So I just ask you if you want to follow along with this, whether you're suffering right now in this moment or not. Self-inquiry gets you out of trouble spiritually, out of that lower energy that comes with believing ourselves to be a separate being, that I am just this body, all the ideas that go with that. But it also keeps you out of it if you really engage in inquiry. And what do I mean by engage? I mean to be really, really curious, to find a question that resonates with you, and to sit with that metaphorically throughout the coming days and weeks. And if you're lucky enough to find a question that really grabs you, like something about it is just really, maybe a little scary, but also really exciting. This question, there's a feeling of the power of a question. You can feel it in your body if you're really resonating with a particular question. Even if you don't feel that, then it's still going to be doing some powerful work. Even if you don't feel this question suddenly is the most important thing in my life. So there was a point for me where questions just became the most important thing, and I was always kind of asking myself a question. So self-inquiry, we'll do some, I'll guide us through some self-inquiry. We're going to focus in this session on the question, where am I? Because that was one of the most powerful questions I've ever asked myself. And if you feel a call to kind of follow along, I'd encourage you to do that. If you can, try to keep your eyes open. It's better if you can. If they just close and you can't do anything about it, don't worry. But let's try not to drift off into some nice deep state of whatever. Not that that's not nice to experience, but if you do that, then you're going to miss the benefits of asking this question. You want to try to stay conscious and aware of what insights we're having while we're asking this question. And even if you don't have any epiphanies right as we're asking this question, something powerful is happening. Because while we're asking any question at all, whether it's who am I, what am I, where am I? If we're asking a contemplative question, like, is it true I'm not good enough or I'm not safe? That question, while it's energized and alive in our being, while we're remembering it, is simultaneously not allowing us to believe any thoughts at all. So you can either believe a thought or ask a question. You cannot do both at the same time. So even just asking the question, you're going to begin to feel different. So just a few things about self-inquiry before we get going, which are really important. The first is, you can't get it wrong. We're not looking for any epiphany right here on this session, although that might happen, and it's great if it does. But I'd be more excited from my perspective if someone got excited about a question. I don't really mind so much about what answers we get to that question, because you're going to become the answer to the question. Rather than getting it, you're going to become it. You'll find yourself just living as it. So you can't get it wrong. There's no big epiphany that's the right answer to a self-inquiry question. And I'm saying that because for me, I was desperate to get the right answer from asking a question, especially such an important question. What really am I? Where am I? Who am I? I was expecting some aha moment, and that would be it. All my suffering would be over. But actually, I found something very different happening. I found myself falling in love with asking the question. And I reached a point where I didn't care about the answers because the question felt so good. And as we're asking the question, we're not able to believe any thoughts, like I was saying. So we're actually dissolving our ability to suffer. We're dissolving the seeker, the imagined seeker, the imagined separate being that we are. So if you can go into this, I'm saying this because I want you to just relax, not trying too hard to get anything out of this. Just maybe seeing if you can enjoy the process of asking this question. And as I guide it along, if I say something that you can't fully resonate with or don't completely understand, it's okay. Just let that one go and just kind of tune back in and see. Just hearing the instruction and being willing to see if you can recognize that or feel that inside you is enough. Everything else is done for you, or by the self that you are, I should say, by grace, whatever you want to call it. That just the willingness to entertain the question is the most powerful thing in the universe. Cannot be understated, that's so. Let's just start with this question, where am I? And just every now and again, I'm going to remind you of this question because our mind will start to fill the space between the question with thoughts about it. And your mind is going to think about this question. It's okay. Don't need to stop that. Okay. Just let that happen. It's going to have all kinds of opinions. I don't like this question. I do like this question. This question's scary. I don't think I'm doing it right. I think I'm doing it right. I feel strange. Whatever mind is saying, we can just let that happen. I'm going to ask this question, where am I? So where are you actually? Because the thing that we're all suffering from is the idea that here is where I am. I know where I am. That's the assumption we all make. I did too. I'm here in this mind and in this body, and I'm here only. That's the assumption. I am this separate being, this person, this someone. I'm as big as this body and, as tall as it. So let's just, for a moment, override that and be willing to ask the question, where am I? When I first asked this question, it seemed really quite a daft question, really. Something inside me resonated with it, that there was something important, but I also felt slightly embarrassed because I knew, well, obviously I'm here. This is where I am. But there was this kind of pull to stay with the question anyway. For some reason, I didn't know what that was at the time. And I felt something fresh and something different and something new in this question. As I kept asking it, kept looking again, where am I actually? I began to recognize it was just a feeling that I was only here. It was an assumption that I'm only here. It really feels like I'm just in my head and just in my body. That's the only place I am. And I don't reach any further anywhere else. I'm just here. And that assumption was so treasured and valued that it felt quite daft even to ask this question. Something in my mind just said, well, I'm here. Duh, obviously. Let's stay with it anyway. If you're having that feeling, it's very normal. So let's just stay with the question anyway. Where am I? Can you really say, when you look, let's just really see if we can feel this one out. Can you really prove that you're only here? Yes, you are here in whichever particular body that you're listening to this, watching this. But can you really prove that that's the only place you are? Can you prove that you stop here? There's a feeling, there's a sense, I'm only here. But can you actually prove beyond that? Can you say with any certainty, I know exactly where I am and where I aren't, where I stop? For me, when I looked at this, I was quite astonished just to discover that if I don't rely only on this feeling, this deep, deep feeling, this very taken for granted feeling, but still nonetheless a feeling that disappears every night in deep sleep, that I can't actually say where I am here. You are here because something's hearing these words through your ears. Something's looking at this image on the screen through your eyes. Something's here that is you. Where is that? Where are you actually? And one of the things that might happen as we stay with this question is there might be a sense of confusion arising. Maybe fear too, some fear. Confusion is normal because mind doesn't know what to do with this question. Once it's kind of taken the question in, mind says, well, I know where I am. Or it may come to the conclusion that I don't know where I am. I can't really, this feeling is in the body that I'm here, but that'll be gone when my body's gone. Gone in deep sleep at nighttime. So I am here, but I don't really know where I am. Just taking a moment to kind of take in the amazing fact that we can't really say for certain where we are. There's a feeling that I stop here, but when I go deeper than a feeling, where's my boundary actually? Am I only here? Can I prove or disprove? How big am I? Am I inside only, outside the body, both? Or does this question kind of lead to a sense that I don't really know actually? And again, if you feel confused, it's okay. That's simply mind trying to grapple with this question. Just a reminder that we're not really doing this to get an answer. We're just doing this to play with the sense of not knowing, to get comfortable with the sense of not knowing actually where I am. Let's just ask this question one more time. Where am I? What happens when you ask that question? Is there an openness? Is there a lightness? There might also be some fear, some tension in the body, or there may not. The fear is just the mind kind of panicking a little because its main core assumption, your mind runs on this assumption that this is all you are. And suddenly we're not so sure of that. We're in unknown territory here. So let's allow that fear best we can, but not let it stop our inquiry. So where am I precisely? And where aren't I? Where do I stop? Something about you is in this body, but is that all you are? Are you only in the body, or is the body in you? So at any point, if you get a little lost, just coming back to this question, where am I? You might find the question itself becomes quite peaceful, quite relaxing. Because while we're asking this question, we can't be holding this assumption in place that I know where I am. And is that one assumption that is the cause of all of our suffering? If I know where I am, then every emotion that goes through this body is happening to me. Every thought that goes through this head is talking to me. Every karmic pattern that plays is mine to fix, to try to deal with. But if I don't know where I am, I know I'm here, I know I exist. But where that is precisely, I can't say. If I don't know where I am, where is my mind? Which thoughts are mine? Which karmic patterns are mine? Do I even have any karmic patterns? If I don't know where I am, do I even have a mind? Do I have any problems? My mind, when I got to this point in the inquiry, my mind was saying, you can't just dump your problems as if they don't exist. But if I don't know where I am with any certainty, as terrifying as that was at first for me, I had to also admit that I can't be 100% certain that any thoughts going through this head here are mine. I'm here, but I'm not in any particular place. Where that here is not pointing to a physical body anymore. It's pointing to something much more vast and diffuse. Again, just coming to the realization that I've always assumed I know where I am. And I know that this mind is mine. And I know that these emotions are mine. These patterns, these suffering is mine. These relationships are mine. This struggle towards awakening is also mine. Can we be sure of any of that? What remains then if you don't know where you are? Any problems left? Any spiritual search left? Any bondage or liberation left? I know where my body is, but where am I? I know where my mind is going on here, but where am I? We're just looking, slowing down and looking for an edge to our being. Really zooming in. Can I find where I stop? Am I really just as big as this body? Or is that just a feeling that's been given validity and therefore had a life of its own? Everything inside here is me, everything outside is not me. What if that's not how it actually is? If there were two of us sat in this room, two bodies, if you were sat here next to this body here, which body is yours then? If you don't know where you are, if there were 10 of us sat in a room, 10 human bodies, and we ask this question, where am I? Which one of those bodies are yours, is yours? All of them? None of them? One of them? Without the physical body for a location, because you know where your body is, but do you know where you are? Without using the body as a location, where are you then? If your body was to just disappear, it's not going to, don't worry. But if it did, where are you then? Where's your center on which everything else is based? When I fell in love with this question, I realized it had the power to take everything away that I was suffering with. And yet something wanted to hold on to that suffering because it was based on very familiar thoughts. These are my thoughts, my patterns, my suffering, my journey, my body. That body over there is not mine. This one is, because I know where I am. I'm here. So if you're feeling in the middle of no man's land, like we're taking away everything that you knew to be true, it's because we are. But nonetheless, this is just what is true, what you're seeing here, that you don't actually know where you are. Where are you located? Can you point to yourself on a map? You can point to a body. This is where I am. But what about you? Where are you? For me, this question was exhilarating and a little terrifying. Something so appealing about it that just kept pulling me back to it. Maybe this isn't your question, but maybe you're falling in love with how it feels to not know. Can you feel a lightening, an unburdening of this heavy idea that I know where I am? If all the objects in the universe disappeared, where would you reference yourself from then? If you didn't have a body and all these other objects, how would you know where you are? What would you use to locate yourself? Or mustn't you just be what was left? If all the objects disappeared, the whole universe, including your own body, and you're still here, you must be the vastness in which all of that appears. And again, you might not be able to follow along 100% with all this and prove this, and that's okay. What's doing the spiritual work here, what's actually working the magic, is that you're willing to follow, to try to follow along with this. For this time, now, for 20 minutes going on, you haven't been holding so tightly this idea that I know where I am. Something profound is happening underneath and in the background. You're getting some distance from this idea that I am this body only. You are this body too, right? But not only. Again, if you got a little lost, just refocusing on this question, where am I actually? You don't reference your thoughts or your emotions or your body for a moment. Where are you then? Because all of those are going to go, just like they came. Did you really come into this body? And will you really have to leave this body if you don't know where you are? Can you prove that you're separate to everyone else and everything else if you don't know where you are? Isn't it that all of our suffering is based on this one idea? It all springs forth from this one idea that I know where I am. We were sitting next to each other. Could you say that that body is you and this one is me? Could you still say that with certainty now? If I came to your house and sat down next to you, would you be able to say, I stop here and you start there? Where would that dividing line be? Would it be halfway between our bodies? Does it really exist? Again, based on the assumption that I know where I am. So just encouraging you to sit with this feeling, this sense, this understanding. None of those are the right words completely, but that I might not actually know where I am. I might be coming to see that I might not have a location somewhere, not over here or over there. Maybe when I say that I'm here, here means something formless and diffuse and vast. Doesn't feel like anything that, does it? That you. And you can't really say where it is and where it isn't, only that it's here. If we do give that a location, we really have to say that it's everywhere. Does even the word everywhere have any significance if there are no forms? If you're not a form, or you are all forms? Just feeling out in your body how it feels to not know where you are, to not be so completely convinced for a moment. This one main assumption. Which body is yours then? Which thought is yours then? Which house is yours then? Which car is yours? All these things that belong to us, my mind, my house, my job, my car, my debts, my savings. All of that, this sense of belonging, of having possessions, is based on this idea, this is where I am. And without that, it all begins to loosen. Perhaps most importantly, my spiritual journey, my awakening, my progress on the path. What remains of that with this question? Where am I? How do you measure your progress now? Is there any progress now? There might be certain bodies appearing inside you that have more enlightened thoughts than others, that feel more peace than others. Which one of those is yours? Do you even want to pick just one body from here? So again, just sitting with this question, and I'm not really interested in answers. I'm more interested in the question, and I'd like to get you excited about the question, because the question pulls the rug out from underneath all of your ability to suffer. We finally admit the truth. I do not actually know where I am. Still feels like, even as these words are coming from this body, still feels like I'm here. There's a sense that I know where I am, but it's just a sense, and I've seen through it enough times to know it's just a phenomenon that happens while the sense is functioning and words flowing and lungs breathing. There seems to be something, someone here. But there's no suffering with that, because I know the truth, which is I don't actually know where I am. All I can say is that I'm here. If you check that out, you'll find the same is true for you. You are here. But where is here? Does that still point to a particular body now, or does it point to something very different? You get to keep your body and play with the sense of being someone somewhere. But something much more profound is present also. Where are you now? Even if your attention has gone to some thought happening inside a head somewhere, or to some emotion that's coming, still, do you know where you are? Do you have to go back to the sense that you do know where you are, that you're only here? Even if attention moves from looking at this vastness that you are and goes back to focus on a thought or an emotion or a sensation going on in the body, that can just be a shift. It shifts from here to here. We don't have to pick up any identification with that. All that happened was attention moved to look at a thought happening in a brain somewhere inside you. That's all that's happening. Or an experience that's being watched through the body. Let's just stay with this for a few more minutes. Ask this question again. Letting go of any need for an answer and just enjoying how it feels to question. Where actually am I? For me, this question just lifted me up above the mind, or more correctly, showed me I'd always been above the mind. I just had this fascination, many millennia, about I know where I am. And as each body came and went, I would identify with that body for a while, and then the body would go, and then another one would come, and I go back to this sense that I know where I am. I'm here. We don't reference the body as our location for now. What reference point do you have then? Because with the body will go the ability to think and feel emotions. Just like in sleep at nighttime, all of that has gone. So self-inquiry then might be different than perhaps it was for me. It was a real unlearning of what I thought self-inquiry was. I thought that I asked the question and had to get an answer. And I found that asking the question was much more fun. And that answers tended to get in the way, really. And my mind was looking for the right answer, and I kept getting the wrong ones. But answers are just kind of coming and going inside. Even if this body has an epiphany right now, an aha moment, is that my epiphany, my success, if I don't know where I am? And if this body's suffering right now, if it's feeling some emotion, is that my suffering, my problem, if I don't know where I am? And I found that the longer I stayed with this question, the less the mind could touch me, or the less I imagined the mind had ever touched me. That much became clear. That had always been at the top of the mountain looking down, instead of trying to climb up, as it seemed, to freedom. I was looking from the freedom that I thought I was trying to get to. Now, I hope this question has been powerful for you, but if it's not your question, that's totally okay. We're really just demonstrating the power of any question to open us up and lift us out of illusion. Not from the place our mind would ask a question. I have to ask a question and get an answer, and then I'm done with the question. What if you fell in love with the question because it just inoculated you against your ability to suffer? It was just gone. As if it was just like lifting you up out of the reach of any suffering at all, no matter what happened to the mind, body, the emotions, whatever was going on in your experience. You could not take it personally. You could not take it as a separate being. How would that be? And maybe you've had a taste of that in this session. If you love this question, have at it. It changed everything for me. If you don't, find your question that works. There's been so many profound self-inquiry questions. You can even Google them now, of course. And as Ramana said, the question is dissolving the one trying to get the answer. And in the end, there's only the question left, and peace, deep, deep peace. So if you got lost along the way with that at some point, it's okay. It isn't a linear exercise where you have to follow everything I say and get to the end of that example that we've just done. It's more about how willing you are to entertain the question, just to keep the question alive inside you. Not as a mechanical thing, but a willingness to embrace a question and to perhaps come to see life differently. So I thought I would leave some time if anybody would like to share their experience of the inquiry. Feel free to raise your hand on Zoom or just speak up, or if you have a question, something you need help with. Christine, whenever you're ready.
Hi, Helen.
Hi.
Hi. Yes, that was very timely synchronicity for me. There's been a couple of situations, one being earthquakes. Very scary for the body.
I've only been in one earthquake, and it was a very interesting experience, let's just say.
Yeah, Yeah, especially at 5:40 a.m.
Mm-hmm. You can only imagine.
Or leaping out of bed. And another one being a family member over Christmas, getting in risky situations, which isn't completely resolved yet. So those kind of worrying things. And I have to say I dropped right down into it and had a lot of sadness and really struggled to get the perspective, the ultimate perspective, I guess. So that question.
Can you be sure that happened to you?
Well, no, having that question, no, I can't.
I mean, we can be sure that perhaps words were spoken from that body and emotions were felt in that body. We're not negating any of that. We're not denying. And that body was experiencing an earthquake. But from that question, which body are you going to identify with? Or can we be more truthful and say that it feels like it's happening to you, but you can't be absolutely certain? Yes. Even this, I dropped down into suffering and then I had to really struggle to get back out of it again. That process went on in that body. There were lots of thoughts, lots of emotions, and eventually a lightening of those thoughts and emotions and then back to some kind of peace. But with the assumption removed that I know where I am, is that still what's happened to you? Or is it happening inside you?
Yes, it's happening inside me. Although I don't know if I've regained any peace yet. Actually feeling quite a lot of fear as we talk. Yeah, I was trying. Is it really true I'm not safe? Which appeared to have some effect at the time, but then I got up and went straight to the cupboard and ate crisps. And I just, but this question feels like it's maybe even deeper than that question, or is it really true I'm not good enough for me? And having listened to lesson 4 quite a few times, and then forgetting every time and having to go back and listen again and then forgetting again. But when you asked about the sitting in a room with 10 people, yeah, I really couldn't say.
It all gets a bit fuzzy then, doesn't it? Which is my problems and my even forgetting and remembering who I am. I am the self. Oh no, wait, I've forgotten. I've got to get back to that. And even that is like, is that actually something I need to identify with? If I'm honest and say I'm here, but I don't know, I can't find an edge to where I stop. If I go beyond this assumption that I'm only this big, that I just fit into the body and nowhere else, or I'm as big as my body. If I really ask where I am and where I aren't, it all gets a little fuzzy.
Very fuzzy.
My ability to suffer, yeah. And when I know where I am, when I'm certain of that, everything else, all of my suffering seems really, really real. Like so super real and hard to get out of. And so is there any point sort of struggling and battling with that? Or is it easier to find the most powerful question that I know of in this moment and keep going back to that? For me, I just took refuge in the question itself. And as I stopped trying to fix these things I mean, this family member over Christmas, can you see this sense that they're over there and you're over here? You know where you are.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And I can't save them from themselves, and I desperately want to,
Can you hold on to that sense, though, that you need to help them when you don't know which body is yours in particular, or that they both must be yours?
Yeah. That did cross my mind during the meditation. Both must be mine. And then I'm like, how can that be? How can that be? You
just keep this recreating this sense of me here, you there, over and over again. Me here, you there, or me here and everyone else. It's just such a believed assumption that we're constantly reliving it with all of our karmic patterns kind of reinforce that illusion, don't they? That there's me and other beings, other things, me and fear, me and peace. Over and over again, we go back into some kind of separation. If this question has some power for you, some kind of relevance, some excitement, then stay with it, because it is the fastest way out. And just because you know that you're not separate to this other being that you need to save, your mind wants to save from themselves, it doesn't mean that you're not going to actually be able to help them. In fact, the opposite is true. Maybe it's impossible to help them while you feel separate to them. Of course, we keep trying, don't we? Over and over again.
Yeah. But that's, gosh, that's actually really hopeful. I feel quite sad because, well, it brings up a lot of emotion because, of course, this person's so precious and I so want them to be safe and having a good life.
Of course you want that. Of course you do. And imagine how much more effective everything you're trying to do to help will be without that energy drain of this massive assumption that they're outside of you, separate to you. You're here, they're there. Everything you're realizing and seeing for yourself will be imbued upon them to the extent that they can receive it, even if that's just momentary peace that seems to disappear again, or some relaxation. They're going to get the benefits of all of your spiritual work if you don't keep insisting that they're outside of you. And everything that we're trying to do then becomes more effective from that place of no separation.
It seems like a very good reason to continue. Not that I didn't already
tried countless times, haven't we, to help these particular beings. Who they are in our lives are different. It could be our parents, our siblings, our children, our co-workers, our friends, other people on the pathway. It could be anyone at all. We've tried over and over again as separate beings, and it's not really all that effective. In fact, everything I did made it worse as a separate being. So, yeah. See what happens when you stay with this question. You're not negating the fact you want to help them. Of course, you want them to be safe and happy. What's the most effective way now to do that?
Wow, thank you so much. Yeah.
Melanie?
Yeah, thank you. When you had first started, I thought I didn't hear what you said correctly. I thought you had said the question was, who are you? And I thought I misheard it. But as I was doing it with you, this where are you? It seemed to be answering the question, who are you, at the same time. And I loved when you said something about you're up here, just a visualization, looking down instead of trying to get up there. I just love that. And also when I was doing it, there was such a, because I kind of think if I had to answer that question, I would say, this is me, I'm here, right here.
And there
But
it is, right? I'm here. I know where I am. Can you feel that certainty in the assumption?
Right. But as I was doing the exercise with you, and I could get that feeling that I was all over, you know,
Mhm.
and this was just part of this all overness of me.
Yeah.
It just felt so spacious. It just felt so nice. So I thank you. I never really experienced what I experienced. So thank you.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. And we're not negating the body or anything. We're not being mean to it. It is inside. I love the way you phrase it, this all overness that I am. I like that. But it's not the central focus of my whole story. It's just part of what I am, isn't it? It's a beautiful thing. But if my entire existence is based on just this one body, I am going to feel terrible. And I start to feel better the moment I begin to let go of that. And the question is a great way to let go of that, isn't it? So I'm really glad you experienced that.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It just gets better and better the more you play with this question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lars? You're muted there.
Oh,
There we go.
yeah.
Hi.
Hello, Helen. I just felt called to say thank you very much for, I've been watching you for a long time now, ever since the Buddha at the gas pump interview. And,
Oh, wow. That was a while ago.
Yes. So I'm a bit shy, but I really
too.
want to thank you. Yes.
Believe it or not, me too. I would much rather just be sat having a cup of tea with you than doing this. But yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And I really like the question, where am I?
Good.
Because it really makes me realize that the whole field of experience is happening in me, instead of that I am in the experience, but the experience is happening in me. So I feel the expansion happening.
You can feel when the question really resonates, because your body gives you that feedback, doesn't it? Your body kind of goes, oh, I like that. There's something light there. There's something
yes,
spacious
very much.
in it. Yeah.
It reminds me of the question, am I looking from the self or at the self? It's a bit similar to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes you to, as we were just saying before with Melanie, a direct experience of, I don't actually know where I am, or I'm everywhere, something like that, the same really. And as you said so beautifully, experience is just happening inside me.
Yeah.
Instead of it being, I'm experiencing, something else. That's just going on inside me, and I don't have to interact with everything in the same way. Then I'm just there with it. It's just there, isn't it? It's just going on.
Yes. And it can have all the room it wants.
Yeah, perfect. I love that. There's so much freedom in that, isn't there? It can just be going on however it goes, and I don't have to be trying to constantly change it from there. It's just whatever's happening is happening, and I'm just here watching, being with it. Wow, wonderful. I'm glad it resonated with you. That's really, really lovely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So we'll just wrap it up then. As we've heard from those wonderful people that have shared their experience with the question, it can bring up some fear, as we noticed, but it can also it's a powerful question that can take us directly to an experiential understanding of what we really are. And that's not happening here. That's a continuous experience, for want of a better state, a condition where I know myself to just be that, whatever that is. I don't know what that is, but the body and the experience and everything is just going on inside. And from there, it's impossible to suffer. It's literally impossible to suffer. So you're just bringing yourself back to that direct experience as often as you can with the question, whichever question resonates. And then coming back to that as often as you can. If you seem to fall out of it, just as soon as you can, just re-engage with the question. And as soon as you find yourself trying to climb up the mountain side, coming back to the question, wait, I'm already outside of this. I'm already looking at this struggle, not from it. I'm, as Lars was saying, I'm looking from the self rather than at it, trying to get to it. And it took me immediately into this effortless place where I couldn't struggle, couldn't strive, couldn't suffer. Didn't mean that I stayed there straight away permanently. I had this in and out, backwards and forwards at first. But every time I seemed to fall out of that and start to suffer again, it kind of renewed my passion for the question and to see even deeper. And after a while, even if you seem to fall out, it doesn't mean anything. It's just an experience happening inside the field of being. There's a body that's suffering and then it's not. That's all it is. So thank you for being here with me for this time. I've really enjoyed it. Hope you have too. And I'll hand it back to you, Sina. Thank you. Namaste, everyone.